Welcome to my live stream live from Bangkok, Thailand. Today, the top story is the ending of an 8-year-old saga where a modern Canadian woman accused of a bunch of hockey players of sexual assault and, believe it or not, actually got paid. Then, the real man of the day today is once again a comedian. Rene Vaca. We will unpack what happened at his comedy show right here. Then every day I review the profiles of modern women on the dating apps. We're going to meet this lovely lady and see if there are any red flags in her profile. And then the comment of the day comes from this nose ring wearing modern woman. And at first, when you read her comment, it sounds like, oh, this is actually kind of reasonable. But once you dive in, you'll see the delicious gaslighting that is her post. So we will visit that. All right, the top story is the story of a 20-year-old woman who 8 years ago accused five professional hockey players, falsely accused of sexual assault. And last month, they were finally found not guilty. And the big news this week is that the Canadian prosecutors, and shame on them, finally agreed to not take it any further. So they're officially not guilty. Just in case, if you don't know, this started 8 years ago when a 20-year-old girl decided to have casual one night stand with one of the professional hockey players. She met at the bar, and then they've invited other professional hockey players to have a wild night. Now, she herself admitted in text messages, and there's actually a fucking video of her saying that this was consensual. And originally, there was no charges pressed. The prosecutors decided not to go through with this. But under pressure from friends and family on her part, and under pressure from the media on the prosecutor's part of the Crown, they ended up actually taking these men to court. And NHL suspended them without pay. They lost their professional contracts. And all of this, despite the fact there were pretty much no evidence of any of this. And this is when finally the judge, after the bunch of mistrials and other problems, took over the trial. She essentially said that what the alleged victim, who is not the victim at all here, the men are, basically lied and was inconsistent and over exaggerated. There was absolutely no evidence, and they all found not guilty on all charges whatsoever. But here's the worst part. Not only they've lost 7 years over their lives and their contracts, this woman was apparently filed a multi-million-dollar civil lawsuit. The Hockey Canada ended up settling with her, which means she made a significant amount of money. With, by now we know, falsely accusing men of the sexual assault. This is something that happens all the time. The only reason we find out is when someone famous gets involved. But gentlemen, if you think that this cannot happen to you, a man living in a Western country, you're too stupid to watch my channel. This happens to men all the time. Why? Because not only women don't get a punishment for falsely accusing men, they get rewarded because they use it as a tool to get back at men. They use it as a tool to essentially, make money in this case. And by the way, these are all of the men who were now found not guilty. But here's another problem with this. The National Hockey League said that they are not going to reinstate them. Even though the NHL Player Association said that they're ready to bring them in, the Russian league, where one of the guys played, said, "Hey, as long as they're not guilty, found in court, we're absolutely going to welcome them back." But National Hockey League said, "No, we're not going to let them in. We don't like what happened." And by the way, NHL has had a history of encouraging, pretty much borderline encouraging women to go after their players. Evander Kane, another player who played for San Jose Sharks and many other teams, was falsely accused by his wife, who ended up actually losing custody of their baby at the end of the day because of how much lying she did and how awful of a person she was and probably still is. And this happens all the time. Now, the the laws need to be changed. The laws need to be changed because there is no protection for men. There's only essentially encouragement for the women to do more and more and more of this. And of course, this is a fallout of the Me Too movement, which is, by the way, something to be said about these women who falsely accuse men of sexual assault, and know that, and there is no punishment for that. They do a huge disservice to those women who actually are victims of sexual assault, right? Because at this point, I would not, how they say, believe the victim. I don't believe any woman unless there is evidence. We should not believe women's or any person's feelings because, in a case like this, they were all fucking wrong. What we need to believe, and I'm going to blow your mind here, we need to believe facts and evidence, which were none of in this court case. Because there's so, by the way, this is the judge who announced the verdict, and thank God she actually saw through all of the bullshit. This is yet another sketch of these men in court having to do that. This is the hotel where it happened. This is a video or a snapshot from the video where she's willingly went to the guy's room. And by the way, her identity is being held. The person who is the real criminal here, her identity is protected. But the men who are innocent, they were blasted all over the place on social media and so forth and so forth. But there is another problem, and I guess this is the root of the problem, because look, when the mainstream media covers this, they still end up making the girl as a victim and calling out how this is all unfair. Look, this is one of the Canadians' main publications, and yes, this is a woman who wrote this article saying, "Oh, I can't believe that this is viewed as a vindication." Bitch, of course it is viewed as vindication, because it is the vindication where you drag all this bunch of men through the mud just to find out that they're not guilty. There is a vindication. As a matter of fact, I would even argue this is nowhere close of the vindication that I would prefer. I would prefer that the prosecutors who went for it, knowing there was no evidence whatsoever and been under pressure of the media, of publications like this, they should be jailed. The woman who falsely accused these men should be jailed. And everybody who was part of the decision at the Hockey Canada should be fired for giving her the money, thus encouraging more and more women doing this over and over and over again. And like I said, the NHL has a history of essentially encouraging this. So, gentlemen, when you go to vote, you start thinking about, hey, do I really care that much if trans people end up in swimming competitions? Do I really care if there are illegal immigrants who are picking my salad so I pay almost nothing for it? Or do I really care about my rights and a chance of being in this situation like this? Except for, as a regular common folk, you guys watching the show are unlikely to defend yourselves well. You're most likely to settle in a lot of cases because you don't have the money or the time to deal with this and essentially be dragged through 7 years of your life without pay, with a lot of shame, with probably friends and family turning away from you. If you're married or in a relationship, most likely your wife leaving you. Think about what their priorities are, gentlemen, because right now, I see nothing to indicate that American men or Canadian men or Western men care even a little about their rights and not being in this situation like this. Let's go to the chat where The Rock says, if a woman can be rewarded for falsely accusing, then there is no rule of law, which also relies on principle of innocent before proven guilty. So here's the thing. The problem is there is a rule of law. The problem is there is no law that that punishes women for doing this to men. It's an absence of law, not the fault of the system. Now, of course, these prosecutors should have never gone with this case moving forward, right? Because the original ones saw it pretty clearly that she was full of shit. However, you're right. The whole Me Too movement, where the chant is, believe the victim, is absolutely goes against the innocent, until proven guilty, which is one of the most basic um, principles of any just system. So, yes, unfortunately, no. And in this case, she was not the victim, the men were. She was very much the criminal. Colin says, we don't do this with any other crime. Only with sexual assault do we believe the victim, and men are guilty until proven innocent. And even then, men are still guilty. You know what? I couldn't have said it better myself. This is it. This is the reason why I have decided to do this channel, which, by the way, I do absolutely for free right now. There are no sponsors of this channel. The social media platforms that I'm on are not promoting it. As a matter of fact, TikTok has banned me from doing this live stream immediately. I cannot do a live stream on TikTok about this, right? So I'm only streaming on YouTube and X and a couple of other platforms. But at the end of the day, I can see how my content is not being promoted. So essentially, I've been volunteering so far for 8 months doing this, but I will continue to do this because this is very important. This is very important for me. It is in my heart. And even though I don't live in America anymore, and this is one of many reasons, I did not want to be a second-class citizen in the country with basically shits on men all the time. I still feel like it's my duty to help men who are still in America and cannot escape with this. But gentlemen, this is the priority that a lot of American and Western men do not have, that needs to happen. And, I did a story yesterday, where Obama called out Democrats for leaving men behind. And a lot of men actually voted for Trump, thinking that he is pro-men, where he was the last president to sign the most anti-men law, as I mentioned before many times. We need to demand that our politicians, especially our male politicians, earn our vote as men. But right now, they don't. And this is why this is going to continue to happen over and over and over again. So buckle up, but also remember, when the next election is coming up, research the people you want to vote for. I don't care if they're Democrats, Republicans, or independent. Make sure that these are the people who will stand up for you when it comes to men's issues, so things like this don't happen to any of us in the future. All right, so now let's move on to the next segment, which I do every week. Here, let me change the caption. All right, the real man of the week once again is comedian. His name is Rene Vaca, and he had a modern woman in his audience, and I will show you what happened.
Single, man. The dating world is crazy right now. The dating world is crazy right now. Men ain't shit. Men ain't shit.
Okay, now, first of all, let's just note that she believes, there are two of them actually who said that men ain't shit, which obviously is what most Western women think of men in terms of the dating scene and generally speaking as species, right? Not only she thinks that, she believes that it's perfectly okay to shout it out loud in front of other people. Not only that, she also believes it's okay to shout it out loud in front of other people while the cameras are running and she's being recorded. That's how comfortable women are now looking down on men. And notice something. No man, and definitely not a single woman in the audience, said anything at all. There was complete silence, except for what Renee said.
And what are you? Huh? You're the shit.
Yeah, women think that they are the shit, right? Which is funny on itself, but let's see what happens next.
That's why it smells in here. It smells like shit. What makes a woman the shit? What makes a bad bitch?
Moral values.
Moral values. So you never sucked a dick the first night you met the dude? You never fucked the first night you met? You never had a one night stand? Shut your moral value dumb ass up, bitch. See how bitches they talk, man? Talk. It's after they suck the dick, like, you know what? I'm no more. I'm a bad
All right. So this, gentleman, is how you talk to women who have no respect for men, whether when it comes to dating, but most likely just culturally, right? Which a lot of you don't, because as you can see in the audience, not a single motherfucker, not a single man said anything. Because women who have no respect for men who essentially build the entire world around them and maintain it, you have to boo them out of any room anywhere in the world. And yet here nobody said shit. Only Renee talked to these women as they should be talked to. Talk down to them, talk shit to them, and put them in their place. But no man in the audience did that. Nobody even booed. And gentlemen, until you start calling women out who have no respect for you, who have no respect for men in general, I'm going to start agreeing with these women that you gentlemen ain't shit. Because if you have any self respect, you would be booing, you would be yelling, you would be screaming, you would be definitely making your case. But here, as you can see, every single man, and definitely, again, I don't even expect that from women, said they're like little bitches that they are, like a lot of Western men are, and said nothing. Here in Thailand, I have zero respect for Western women when I see them, unless they earn it, right? Um, when they walk down the street, like this, where they expect me to just get out of their way. I don't. Uh, Luckily, so far, nothing happened, but I will shoulder one, no problem. If she is coming my way and she thinks that I'm going to get out of her way, no problem. Something that you can do in America, oh, it's going to be an assault immediately. Right? Not here. Not here. We'll shoulder her right out of my way. Not, I'm going to keep going with a smile. And most men and probably women around me will probably laugh and point and say, yeah, I don't know what this bitch was thinking, right? I never open doors to Western women. As a matter of fact, I make sure if one anywhere near, I shut the door real quick. Now, that's not to say that there are no good Western women here, but they have to earn my respect. By default, I will give them no respect. Respect is something that is earned. And it used to be, and that's how it is here in Thailand, where, a woman generally will get a man's respect because we know what to expect from women here. Even the most westernized bitches here, very very much Americanized Thai women, will still be very much respectful in the day-to-day life. Yeah, when it comes to dating, they've already kind of unfortunately got infected by what I call is the real virus. But in real life, you know what to expect when you talk to a woman. You know what to expect when you try to pass one by on the street. You know what to expect in almost every situation, including open the door. But with Western women here, I have no respect for them. I treat them as such, as unless they prove me wrong and I see that, oh, this is actually a good woman. The Western women that I do have some respect for are just elderly women, because I will have respect for elderly people in general. This is one of many family values that we have here in Thailand, and one of the reasons I came here to Thailand is because of respect for one another, respect for your neighbor, respect for men, respect for elderly, and so forth and so forth and so forth. But this is how you talk to a Western woman. So kudos to Renee Vaca. By the way, I've never seen him before, but it sounds like he's quite funny. And I hope more and more men do that when they're being essentially called out. And this happens not just in real life, it happens on TV. I mean, if you watch The View, you know that this is a program that has no respect for men. As a matter of fact, one of my first episodes on this channel was about how essentially the ladies on The View said exactly the same thing, that men ain't shit. Now, the funny thing is that the reason men are walking away from women in the Western world, right, in many different ways, including men like me who just fly the fuck out of there and settle in a different country, is that we don't believe that, as the philosopher of our time, Dr. Dre, put once, bitches ain't shit, right? Now, do I think bitches ain't shit everywhere? No, there are plenty of amazing submissive and feminine and traditional women all around the world, including here in Thailand. Most of them are still. But in the Western world, and this is why, guys, I just could not live there anymore. I just cannot be in a room where a woman, and a bunch of them actually, insults men in general as a gender, and everybody says, oh yeah, Yeah, we're going to listen to this and take it. I can't do that. So neither should you, by the way. Okay, let's move on to the next segment, which I do pretty much every day, and it is fun, but also I'm hoping it is educational. All right, the dating profile of the day is of this lady Jess, which looks pretty decent. We'll go over it, but there is something that you guys should absolutely notice as a red flag, which should lead you to swipe left. Now, first, let's look at the pictures. By the way, I love this picture. I would love to have this picture. Oh, I don't know if I want to do it with a gay flag per se, because I'm not, but this is kind of a cool concept. This is one of those immersive experiences places, right? Where you can come out of the picture frame, but you can also do this easily with AI, with Midjourney or whatever. So, by the way, nicely dressed, right? Essentially wearing heels, everything's covered, hair looks like that looks good, so no problems here. This is her main picture. It probably would not hurt if she would be the main subject of the picture and not the bush. And if she would smile a little, that probably would not hurt, but there's nothing wrong with this picture either. This is a wonderful picture as well. It looks like she's into art. Again, dressed very appropriately, hair's done, smiling, great. Um, this is another pretty decent picture, though I now see tattoos, which should be a deal breaker, of course, for anybody who's looking for a serious relationship. But just let's pretend that she doesn't have one, right? She does look a little bit chunkier here, but I think it's because of the jacket that she put around her waist, which all men, of course, love. Ugh. All right, and then we're back to this picture. All right, let's go over it. She's in Nevada City. She's in her 30s, single, looking for new friends and short-term dating. Okay, so this is the red flag that you guys should see if you're looking for a real relationship. If you're just trying to bang her, by all means, new friends and short-term dating. She's not looking for a long-term dating. Now, at the same time, she says, not here for quick hookups, not seeking a serious long-term relationship at this time. Just looking to meet aligned people and see what's natural. What's natural is to fucking fuck. But you're saying you're not here for hookups. And yet she says, well, I don't want a long-term relationship. Again, if you want to hook up with this girl, I'm pretty sure you can get there. Even though whenever a woman says, oh, no hookups, no hookups, with the right man, there are no one-night stands and hookups and all of that stuff. But this is a woman who doesn't know what she's doing, right? She doesn't want sex, and she doesn't want a serious relationship. She's kind of in the middle. But what's in the middle is you paying for her dinners, paying for her drinks, paying for her rides, paying for her movie tickets, and so forth and so forth, and getting really nothing in return that you should as a man who's courting a woman. You're not going to get a long-term relationship with her. So, but you're going to be required to treat it as such, right? That's why she put as a goal a short-term relationship or friends, right? Being friends with a girl like this means pretty much all of that, and on top of that, no sex. So when you see this, when you see a girl saying, "Oh, no sex, but no husband," you need to run. So now let's get over the go over the another part of the profile, because oh no, it actually sounds nice. She says, I am a creative who loves deep conversations, intentional living, I don't know what the fuck that is, and making meaningful connections. I value self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Now that's also a keyword that we need to look at very carefully, because that means that I want to be crying on your shoulder, and I want you to be my bitch therapist, but not always, with a healthy dose of dark humor. Now, I love that. I love dark humor. As you know, I feature comedy on my channel all the time. The real man of the week this week, once again, is a comedian. My favorite comedian is a dark humor comedian, Anthony Jeselnik. If you've never seen his comedy, you should. I think it's very smart and dark and funny. Uh, Extreme extroverts scare me. I don't know what that means. I don't even like. I don't really never understand when women put anything negative in their profiles. Like it always looks bad on them, and always talks about their choices in men. Though this is not too bad. I'm just making a side note. I'm a great listener, which is great, and get along best with people who share that quality. Okay, this is once again, she's trying to tell you that you better listen to her bitching and complaining every day, which essentially goes against the concept of giving a man peace, which is another red flag. I would say yellow flag here because, a lot of times women type shit in and they're like, that never turns out to be true. But I do believe her when she specifically says she's only either looking for platonic friends, which is not that platonic on her part, or short term dating and not a long term relationship. So this profile, again, a lot of guys just look at the pictures, looks good, and they swipe right. Now, you should not be swiping right on women with tattoos unless you're just trying to hook up with them. Here, she does have one, but overall, a lot of guys swipe on profiles like this. Even though there are plenty of red flags for you to consider, and essentially swipe left. And I know it's really hard to swipe left on the girl who looks pretty, and technically you might have a chance, but at the end of the day, guys, you have to understand the modern women are so toxic nowadays, and what they want from you and demand from you does pretty much never matches, that you're better off alone at home with the Pornhub on your screen than going out and wasting your time in money and then still being disappointed in women like this. Okay, let me check really quick if I got anything in the chat. I do, so let me quickly address that. Colin says, at what point do we start diagnosing women that do what the women who lied about being raped by hockey players with toxic femininity? Do we need a wave of lawsuits against entities like the NHL? Absolutely. And like this is what I said, we need law, like these men need to sue the NHL. They absolutely need to sue the Hockey Canada, because essentially the lawsuit that Hockey Canada settled was the trigger for the media to find out that Hockey Canada has a hidden secret fund to pay off the victims of sexual assault, which is kind of fucked up. I understand that's business, but it is fucked up. And that's how the whole thing started going, and that's why the prosecutors, under the pressure, decided to move forward. I think these prosecutors should be in jail, because obviously they were wrong. Obviously they shouldn't have never done it, and they have too much power to do it. And once again, there's no punishment, and this happens over and over and over again. As a matter of fact, I mean, I think half of the judges in a family court should be in fucking jail. But I digress. Absolutely. Now, the number one person who should be in jail is the woman who accused them of the sexual assault and rape, right? So absolutely. Now, I'm not for calling using the word toxic femininity. As a matter of fact, I have a shirt that says toxic masculinity served daily. The reason I have that shirt is because there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. Masculinity is masculinity. Toxic is the word that women put in front of any word that they find offensive towards them, which means this represents men that want to hold them accountable for their actions and words, right? I don't want to do the same the other way around, because femininity is good, right? Femininity is good. This woman is just a shitty human being and toxic. So is the NHL, but NHL is also run by one of the worst human beings in the world, Gary Bettman. I've never seen any other sport anywhere in the world where the commissioner of the sport, when presenting the biggest trophy earned at the end of the season to the winning team, would be booed, no matter by both sides, no matter which city the Stanley Cup is being presented. That's how much everybody who loves hockey hates the guy running it. And he is the one, I'm sure, who was in charge of saying, no, we don't want these guys here, even though we now know 100% they're not guilty of anything that they were accused of. So yes, I would love to see lawsuits against all of these entities, but who's going to file them? Who's going to file them? When you just saw a segment where a bunch of men could not even say something when women said, yeah, you're not shit, you little piece of shit. You know what I mean? So what do we expect? Who's going to be on our side here? I don't see that. All right. Also, what's sad is that the outrage is covered in the major publications, but when the results is we found out the women lied, the story is printed to low rung papers no one has ever heard of. Yeah, that's right. When this story broke, right, all of the media jumped on it. They always do. But then, and they rush to judgment, right? And they rush to ruin this man's life. But when the verdict like this comes in, they're very quiet. And I covered this story so many times, right? Just like I said, with another hockey player, Evander Kane, who was accused by all of these things by his wife, and then when they did the investigation, they ended up finding out that not only she lied, she was the one who was a horrible mother, to the point where the family court, and this doesn't happen very often, took her rights to the child 100%. The guy ended up 100% um, um, guardian of his own child and not the wife, right? So we knew that she was a horrible piece of shit, and yet NHL had no problems ruining his life. There was a girl accused a bunch of other athletes many, many years ago. And only now, I think 10 or 15 years later, when she gave interview while serving time in prison for murder, to that she actually made all that story up, and those men's lives were ruined. But a lot of times we don't know, right? We don't know that these women lied, because men go to jail and nobody cares, right? But you're right, the mainstream media also needs to be responsible. That writer that I just showed you the article from, right? That writer needs to fucking be responsible for her article. Let me point this out again. Give me just 1 second here. I will switch to this, right? Um, Her name is Samantha Edwards. Why don't you guys organize over there in that area, wherever it is, and get her fired for this, right? Just saying, oh, I cannot believe this is a vindication. Those fucking men, toxic masculinity, celebrating the fact that a bunch of falsely accused men are actually now free, and going after what we thought was a victim, but turned out to be, no, she was the predator, right? Why don't we go after these women who are actually in power here, publishing articles like this? We can start small. This would be a big deal, right? This is why I want to have a bigger following, not so I can make money. Well, I would like to make money because I need to eat, right? Because I'm funding my life right now from a different income that I have. I'm doing this for free, but I also want to have a big following. So at one point, for example, when a story like this breaks, we can all bond together and get her fired, right? Because she is essentially victim blaming in this article. So yeah, but guys, first we have to organize, and I don't see any sign of that. The last time we all organized, right, or men in America organized, is when a trans person was in the advertisement of our favorite beer. Then yeah, no, we can't do that. Kid Rock got behind it, all of that stuff. Where's Kid Rock when this happens? All right. She put her politics right up front. I'm pro-choice. Okay, great way to start the convo. Yeah, so I don't really like when people put politics in my face, right? Like, I'm an independent, so no matter which girl I'm going to date, I'm going to disagree with some of her views on politics. But the girl that I'm going to date would not care about the politics, right? The fact that this particular girl cared about the politics, and we're going to the back to the profile of the day, is not a good sign, right? And these fucking dating apps encourage you, it's like, oh, you want to say you're pro-choice, or that's not good, right? And obviously, the statistically liberal women are more likely to pick simps. They're more likely to be boss bitches. They're more likely to be argumentative, and on and on and on and on. So, but listen, what do you care if this is a red flag for you? Thank her that you didn't waste your time on her. Just like with tattoos, it's a visual sign to move on. So thank you to this lady for saying that I am so much into politics. I'm probably gonna make you into my bitch, right? So thank her for that. Okay, let me move on to the last segment. This one's actually an interesting one, and let me change the background as well. And I'll get back to your comments, guys, in just a second. Okay. So hold on for a second. All right. Comment of the day comes to us from a owner of a nose ring and most likely multiple tattoos. This girl right here. And her comment at first, when I started reading it, sounded pretty reasonable. But it went downhill from then. So let me read it to you, and then we'll break it down. She says, men have created a role for themselves in relationships and are now complaining when they are asked to fill that role. What is a woman supposed to think when a traditional man won't pay for dinner? He must either be poor or secretly wish to be the woman in the relationship. So let's first acknowledge that she's actually right in most of this post, right? And it is true. Men are put in a situation where, especially men like me, who are traditional men, and I do want to pay for dinner, but I am not going to do it on the first date because of how predatorial Western and a lot of westernized women are, even here in Southeast Asia, right? I never had to worry about taking the girl out on a dinner on the first date and not thinking that she wants to get to know me and possibly date and have a relationship. Now I have to assume that she's in for a free dinner at first, that she's using me. She's trying to see how much money I have so she can grab more afterwards, right? You kind of have to assume that. It is something that women have created for us. So, yes, it is a shitty situation that we are. And this is why I always suggest, the first date should have a budget of $10 in America or Europe and $3 here in Southeast Asia, because you essentially want to filter out women who are going after free dinners, your money in general, and are not even trying to date you. They're not trying to get to know you. And it's pretty clear when they decline a coffee date. And I've made videos in reaction to their posts on social media all over the place. Of course, all of them are single right now. Or in a subscription prostitution relationships, as I like to call it. So yeah, it is a tough place to be. But when the first date and even maybe the second date should have a budget, but after that, yes, you absolutely should take a girl out to dinner. If you see that she is really genuinely trying to get to know you and it's progressing, you either already had sex, or that's where it's leading to, there's a lot of physical interaction, then yes, you should buy her dinner. Now that dinner should have a budget as well. In America, I would take a girl to Chipotle, because by the time the relationship progressed to the point where I was comfortable buying her dinner, which is again second date a lot of times, just fine, these women knew that I fucking love Chipotle. And one of the few things that I actually miss dearly in America. And me asking Ray, you want to go grab some Chipotle, is not because I'm trying to be cheap. It's just because that's just what I eat every day, and it's true. I eat Chipotle every day. So for the girl, it wasn't like, oh, this guy is trying to be cheap. And if she's not a gold digger, she'll be like, fuck yeah, I love Chipotle. Let's do it. I want to see what you eat at your favorite restaurant. This is part of getting to know you, right? Um, and only, third, fourth, fifth date, especially if you already had sex, especially if the sex was good enough for you to continue after that. Because a lot of times, like I date a girl and I have sex with her, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. That's not fixable. She's just not good at it, and she doesn't want to be. So, at that point, yes, you can take her to maybe a bit of a fancier restaurant. So, so what you would think that a traditional man is also a cautious man nowadays, right? And when we do go for dinner, we'd still buy the dinner. It's just it's not going to happen until we are comfortable to spend our money. Um, so, but it is a dilemma, right? This sucks. This sucks for men like me, and it sucks for traditional women as well. But what she says at the end is also, as always, gaslighting and toxic way of thinking towards men is finally kind of showing here. Though she's not 100% wrong in the last part. She said, he must either be poor or secretly wish to be the woman in a relationship. Uh, I agree with this, though the reason she's saying, right, is basically saying, well, you must be a cheap ass or a girl if you don't want to buy me dinner, right? Um, on a first date. That's what she's not adding, right? However, I do want to say that there are plenty of men who cannot afford to be in a relationship, and these are the men. I understand they got to try, but these are the men who need to better themselves. They need to get a better careers. They maybe need to get a side hustle to make extra money online or whatever, or move to the area where they can afford their own ass and take women out for dinner. So yes, I agree with you that. But also I agree that those men who simp enough to spend tons of money on women up front, whether buying them dinners. I know some guys who take women on trips after first or second week of dating them. Um, yes, these men are essentially secretly wishing they were women because they are. They are beta males. They're simps. I cannot call men like this men, really, when it comes to dating, right? They might be men in their regular lives, but they're certainly not men. They're not going to be men in these relationships where they right away tell a woman that, listen, I am worth, as a man, so little that the only thing, I am not funny, I'm not engaging, my lifestyle is boring, I'm not a good protector. The only thing I got is the money that I have. So here, let me buy your time, and we all know what else, to be with me. These men are not really men, right? This is why we created a new word for them recently: simps. So she is not wrong in factually with anything that she said in this comment. However, this is the shaming and gaslighting women do, not because they're like, well, I'm a traditional woman, and really, what am I supposed to think? Men don't act this way, and something's happening, and you know what I mean? No, she is gaslighting us because she wants the free dinners. She wants the money to be spent on her while offering nothing in return. Now, listen, I'm making an assumption about this girl, right? Now, she does have a nose ring, and she does have an attitude as I'm reading this message, and she lives in America, right? That's what we can see from the post. Now, I'm probably 99% right. Other exceptions, yes, but usually these women don't really challenge men on social media. And when they do, they definitely phrase things a little bit different. But kudos to this girl. She wasn't really what this normally sounds like, right? This comment is much worse, right? As a matter of fact, in the previous segment, we heard what it sounds like. Men ain't shit, right? But this girl actually put this quite politely. Again, don't appreciate the gaslighting, and I know where it's coming from. However, she is not wrong. So when a Western woman with a nose ring is not wrong about her estimation of what's happening with the dating scene, we should at least consider. And I did. So thank you for that comment of the day. I actually enjoyed it. Let me take another comment from The Rock. If a woman only dates for free dinners or because he's a millionaire, then there is no real love. She's only for his money, not because she likes him. Yeah, listen, no shit, Sherlock, right? I mean, but you just said it because it's obvious to you, and I just said no shit, Sherlock, because it's obvious to me. But dude, do you know how many men out there who don't understand this, who are not aware that women are actually going for their money? A ridiculous amount. I will be featuring, and I think next week, Simp of the Week, which should be on Monday, a guy who essentially doesn't, and it blew his mind that he was taken advantage of. And I will talk about it on Monday. But this is the problem. This is why this channel exists. You know, but unfortunately, again, social media is not pushing this content out at all. I can see how many people are watching me. I could have probably gotten a bigger audience by going outside with a megaphone, right? Than the number of people watching me right now, because this content is not being pushed, because women who are in charge of our society, or actually your society over there, don't want men to know about this. They do enjoy the free dinners. So, yeah, the problem is that a lot of men just don't know this. And this is the problem that's going to continue unless more and more men speak out, more and more men promote, well, for say things like this. I'm one of the few men who can actually say this without getting fired from my job or getting canceled or having my house set on fire, right? Because I am in Thailand, though I'm sure that's coming one day. Um, so it is what it is. This is where the battle is. This is why I'm running this channel, because I really do care, and I think there is a lot of work to be done. All right, so let me. All right, I screwed this up a little bit, but I think I need to do it this way. That's right. Okay, so. Colin says, revolutions take time and dedication. Keep it up. A small army is better than no army at all. E for Electric, that's my electric car channel that I did for 8 years before that for a living. Was small at the start. You'll make this channel even bigger than that one. Colin, I really do appreciate it. Like genuinely, it is a struggle for me every day to wake up and go like, I'm going to put in 10 hours of my time and not be able to do anything afterwards because my eyes are so fucking tired being at the computer, looking at the articles and doing the thumbnails and stuff like that. I don't get paid, which is again, that's fine. I'm in. Luckily, I already, I can pretty much retire right now. Not in luxury, but still, I have some income. But what's killing my soul is that I put all of this effort into these stories, and I get blocked on social media in terms of the audience that actually gets to see this, right? Because to me, that's the number one thing. One day, I'd like to have a big enough audience where we can actually make a difference, right? We can bond together and let's say get that girl fired from that publication where she is gaslighting everybody and victim blaming, as long as victims are men, right? So maybe we can encourage lawsuits like we talked earlier. If I have a big enough audience, I know other influencers who also have a decent audience. So maybe we can all bond together. But for that, obviously, I got to slave away every day to get this going. And I got to tell you, I'm the only one so far right now. That's why it's so hard, who covers men's news stories. And it's not easy to find. I got to tell you, I have all these chat GPT, AI robots looking for the stories, and a lot of times it has to be me who dug into somewhere in some Reddit to come up with these stories, though some of them are actually quite easy to find, and that's when my day is actually much better. Yesterday I interviewed a guy for a story that I'm working on, and if my editors gets it done today, I will probably even feature it tomorrow or on Friday, about what Apple is doing that's very much anti-man, and it would be great to hold them accountable. But with right now we don't have enough of an army to do that. So and I'm going to be interviewing. It looks like he agreed to an interview. Oh, I don't want to say, because until the interview is done, I don't really want to say it's coming or whatever. So, all right, gentlemen, this was fun. I will be back with another top story of the day. What is it tomorrow? I think it's the Lulu of the day, of the week. But we're still going to review yet another dating profile and have another comment of the day. Until then, have an awesome day, and I will see you tomorrow. If you want to ditch modern women and move abroad for more traditional relationships, go to themillionmanproject.com, take my most comprehensive course, and change your life.